Yo, what is up, gamers? Today we're going to be talking about anime that are coming out in this upcoming fall season. I plan to dive into these anime in future videos, talking about the themes and the overall plots of the story. Now, I do want to stress that these are going to be anime with a season one only, so nothing with a continuation or that could be a branch off of another series. So, Bleach 1000 or Blood War Arc or Blue Flame Exorcist, those type of series are out of the list, mainly due to the fact that they have so much in them, not only just plot and character development, but also the actual themes that they try to cover. I plan on making videos of those in the future, but those are longer dive. So this won't be every single new anime. This is just going to be ones that particularly are of interest to me that I found in my own research from looking at different trailers and descriptions about the series coming out. There obviously could be other ones out there that I just completely missed, mainly due to the fact that when I'm recording this, other ones are still coming out, and just more information usually tends to be released up until the actual release dates of these animes. So if I missed any that do seem interesting in the future, let me know in the comments below, by all means. Quick disclaimer before we get into this, I am not fluent in Japanese. You're going to see that it's going to be very apparent. I'm going to mispronounce, fumble through, and butcher these names of the characters and the titles of the animes themselves. You'll have to give me a little bit of a break here. I'm bad at not only Japanese, but English as well. So to start off this list, we have Uzumaki, translated as whirlpool or spiral. They both have the same connotation to them. Now, this is going to be a supernatural psychological horror anime where it's going to be slated for September 28th. There are actually a few interesting things I really want to cover about this anime before it actually comes out, so let's just dive right into it. The first thing that I find really interesting is that there's only going to be 4 episodes to this whole season. Now, this isn't the only time this happened. There are plenty of anime that are like this, and they are successful. Fooly Cooly, Dead Man Wonderland are a couple of great prime examples of animes that are so small in the terms of how long they are, but they cover so much and they leave an impact on the people watching them. I remember watching both those shows back when I was a kid in the early 2000s on Toonami late at night, and I'm sure plenty of us have had those same type of experiences with it. For a show and story like Uzumaki itself, there are only 20 chapters in the actual story. I read through the first 10 just to get a general gist of where the story kind of continues on, what the premise is, and all that for this video, but I didn't want to spoil too much for myself. So if you break this down, you could easily have 5 chapters per episode, and there's plenty of content in those 5 chapters for a good solid episode. Now, this is the other thing I want to go into. It'll be animated by the Studio Drive, which has done shows like Konosuba and To Your Eternity, both series I have seen in the past and I love particularly and dearly. But the thing I really want to get into is that they will be co-produced by 2 studios, one a Japanese-based company, Production IG, and the other one being a part of Adult Swim's in-house production arm, William Street, which have worked on previous series like Space Ghost Coast to Coast and Mike Tyson's Mysteries. It's kind of cool to see Adult Swim getting back into the animation industry. However, we've all seen what they did with the recent Rick and Morty disaster of an anime, so let's hope for the best. Originally, Uzumaki was written by Junji Ito. Now, you might not know that name, but his work does speak for itself, and you might have seen it before. He's well known in the horror manga industry, however, and he's made stories that are very good, in my opinion. One, which is the Junji Ito collection. There was a recent anime adaptation of this. It's a compilation of a couple of his short stories that don't link together, but they all are pretty creepy. The other work that he's well known for, and probably his most well known work, is Tomie, and it has no anime adaptation. It's a manga. I read the description about it, so I can't give you too much information, but from what I read about it, it is really good. It's about a woman, a girl who is a femme fatale, if you know what that term means. So basically, she murders men that she is interested in romantically in some way, shape, or form. It plays into a supernatural aspect of it too that gets revealed further down the line. Again, don't want to go too into spoilers, especially if you are interested in these type of stories. Uzumaki, let's get back on the topic again. Uzumaki starts off with the father of Shunichi Saito, who has become literally obsessed with spirals and whirlpools. It's unhealthy. It is downright bonkers. This guy has gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He is putting spiral sculptures all around his house. He's also having these drawings put up on his walls, and every aspect of his life is consumed by it. There's a scene in the trailer and even in a panel in the manga that shows him swirling the water in his bathtub because he needs it to be in a whirlpool in order for him to actually take a bath, which is pretty crazy, but hey, you live your best life, I guess, until it starts to make you do some really insane shit. And that's kind of where Saito is, and he ends up disclosing and talking to both his mother and his girlfriend about this. His girlfriend, Kirie Goshima in particular, they sort of work together to try and figure out what's going on. I read a bit into this. I don't want to get farther than where the trailer has gone, so I'm not going to give any real spoilers about their overall goal is and what the overall plot of the story might be. But it definitely shows that their town might be cursed, and they have to figure out why this curse exists. I've been watching horror movies for a long time, and as soon as I switched over to anime back when I was a wee lad in my diapers and bedwetting, I would watch horror anime because why not? There are some really good horror anime in my opinion and good manga, but for me, nothing has really ever hit to the extent that like I can't sleep at night. However, there are definitely aspects and scenes from some of these anime that do leave a permanent impression in my psyche. A couple of them that I can think of off the top of my head, obviously some generic ones like Another. If you've ever watched that anime, there are a couple scenes. I don't want to go into too graphic detail because, yeah, I'll get striked, and this is my first actual YouTube video. But the teacher in front of the class scene and the umbrella and down the stairs was definitely a long lasting impression that was left on me. I've also seen classic series like Elfen Lied, the Blood series, and even it's not a series, but Akira, the movie. All are good. All I love, and I think they are fantastic. The gore, the blood, the craziness of it gets wild, but I am not terrified. Now, I'm not saying I want to be terrified of this anime. I'm not sure I'm going to be, but I feel like I'm going to be massively impressed with how well the animation is done and the art style and how well the story is told. So, again, I am very excited for a really good horror anime because I mean even the horror movie scene has been just garbage as of late. All right, let's move on to our second topic on the list, second anime on the list. It's going to be Dan to Dan. It's slated for October 24th, and this is probably the anime I've heard the most about, but I have tried to research or look into almost about the least. The amount of posts and content creators online that are saying this is a fantastic story, it's going to be great, people are going to love it, has been insane. I, again, have not actually read it and looked into it, and I'm excited that the anime will be my first dive into it. Depending on how much I like this first season of it, I will go into the manga and further educate myself on the story to talk about themes or the moments in particular that I thought were great. The story is centered around two outcasts, the first one being Ken Takakura, aka Okarun. He's an occult fanatic who really believes in aliens, but not ghosts for whatever weird reason. And a girl, her name is Momo Ayase, who believes in the opposite of him. Now, they try to prove that the other is wrong in classic fashion, and they fuck around and find out, is the best way to say it. They end up learning that they are both right, and both paranormal and extraterrestrial life are real. Now, these two facets, aspects of their reality are impeding and affecting their own personal lives, forcing them into what are basically battles and conflicts against these otherworldly entities. I want to stress this again. I want to be spoiler free. I've tried to be as spoiler free as possible because I do expect I will like this a lot. I think this will be a good anime. I think the manga will be just as good when I read it too. The studio that'll be animating this series is called Science Saru. Science Saru has actually worked on a few series before, like Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, which was very popular in recent years, and Tatami Time Machine Blues. Now, I actually have not watched it, but I hear it's all right. I also recognized a very prominent voice actor. I mean, I've heard him and seen him in so many different series. I'm sure you have too. His name is Natsuki Hanae. I'm gonna put here's a quick picture of some of the roles that he played as. Very well known, and he's very good. I love his work usually, so I'm very excited for that. And the lead female actor is nothing to sneeze at either. Her name is Wakayama Shion, and she's worked in her own fair share of movies and other animated series. One of the more popular ones that I can remember is Takina from Licorice Recoil. It's one of those ones where I haven't seen it, but I'll take the reviews word for it that it's all right. Her voice acting was pretty good, and from the clips that I saw, I mean, I would agree with that. Just from what we saw of the trailer of this anime alone, I'm loving it. The animation was spectacular. The comedy was really funny, both in the actual dialogue, but the faces were hilarious. I'm a One Piece fan, obviously, as you can see, so those goofy, wacky faces are right up my alley. With a concept as crazy as this, I can't wait to see what the animation team brings to the table. All right, the next anime we have in this list is Mao 2099. It'll be airing with the first episode coming out sometime in October. I recorded these and researched them well in advance, I would say. So there are going to be updates probably either in a comment below or in the actual description of the video. It's going to be a sci-fi action reverse isekai anime that's set in Shinjuku, but it's more of a futuristic cyberpunk style. We follow former demon lord Veltol, who for one has been dead. He's been taking a dirt nap for the past 5 centuries, hasn't been doing much, just doing his thing, chilling with the bugs and the roaches. And during that time that he's been asleep, his home planet of Alanith is merged with Earth. He's woken up, found out this cool little factoid, and realized that another result of it is he has no freaking magic anymore. Dude is powerless. Dude has 0 riz, 0 following. So he gets an acquaintance. Her name is Machina, and they work together to try and build that following up so that way he can riz the world into submission, as any just and God-fearing demon lord would do. So let me say, reincarnated as a demon lord, that concept has not only been done before, but it's clickbait. Like, I could see this as a YouTube title, you know? But before I decided to pass judgment, before you should too, let's look at this a bit. Now, the story itself is actually, from what I hear and seen, it's pretty good. It's won an award for, it's called the 33rd Fantasia Grand Prize. So we've also seen this type of concept work in the past, where you have stuff like A Devil's a Part-Timer, where, in my opinion, I really liked the series. First and second season were great. Third season's where it fell off. But up until that point, it was really good, and I got some very good laughs out of it. The action wasn't too serious, and no one really took themselves too serious, and that was really nice. I really liked that breath of fresh air. Studio that's animating this is JC Staff, and they've worked on some heavy hitters in the past. I mean, just to name a few, Shogugeki no Soma, they worked on the second season of One Punch Man, they've done the seasons of Golden Time, and even Shakugana no Shana, which is a farther back anime. Some people might not know that, but I've been watching anime since like mid-2000s, since like 2005, 2006, so give me a break. I've seen a lot of them. While the trailer itself doesn't show us a lot, let's be honest, we get some good scenes, we get some we get pictures of what the characters are going to look like for their design, and then we're going to see just kind of like the actual environment. But what we were shown was beautiful. Like, I thought it was really nicely done, and the aesthetic is amazing. How I can see that this focused more on the beautiful environments and art rather than the actual story that it was going to be telling yet. There could be a second trailer that's released in the future divulging more. However, it could not. With a studio like this, we already know that their animation is going to be amazing. We already know it's going to be good, that they can do some really, really good stuff. I want to see a good plot. Depending how good that plot is, this could be a really solid anime in my opinion. All in all, it could be a good sci-fi slice of life anime with just a bit of action that's kind of sprinkled in here and there to break up some of the monotony. But I could see myself laughing my ass off to it. For our fourth spot on this list, we have Ao no Miburo, or The Blue Wolves of Mibu. So this anime will actually be airing on October 12th. The story is set in 1863 Tokugawa, Japan, which is also the Edo period. We learn about a dichotomy between two sects of society. One is a wandering ronin, and the other are samurai that work directly under the shogunate and follow this regime and government style. Our main character is Neo Chirinu, who has grown up during this time of war, blood, and abhorrent actions toward people. He himself is an orphan, actually. After he meets a couple of people that become very influential Ronin, their names are Hijikata Toshizo and Okita Soji, he gets involved with this revolution that's looming over everyone's shoulders. From what I've read about the actual series itself and the manga, this is a fight for people's desire to change society. And it could be a very beautiful story depending on how in depth and well thought out these characters are laid out in front of us. This is an action and historical anime about war, revolution, oppression, all to wrap up in a emotional story that I hope will pay off. Let me give a quick history lesson about this anime, because with these type of historical animes, I believe it is rather important that they are delved into in the history of what they're based off of. Now, the group that we follow is based off of a real life group that existed called the Mibu Rogoshimi, a group of 234 wandering samurai that obviously had no master back in 1862. The timeline follows along with the actual timeline of events in our historical documents of their existence. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be a one for one though, because from reviews that I've seen about it, it seems like the timeline is more of a foundation to help tell this story that is about the people. Examples where this is completely fabricated information. Two main examples I keep seeing is that the main character, Neo Chirinu, and another character that is a relatively important supporting role, Taru Takana, are both fictional, complete creations for the story itself. This is being animated by the studio Maho Film, which I actually have never heard of any of their work before. When I looked into their previous titles, I have not seen any of them, and I honestly didn't even know a couple of these existed. So on that note, I should also mention, however, there is a second series that they are working on that will be coming out earlier in October, called, and I'm going to butcher this one. I am going to so butcher this one, but let's go. Reikishi ni Nokoru Akujo ni Naruzo. Yeah, that's a name. But anyways, if I like Ao no Miburo, a lot easier name, throughout my watch of it, I might give this second series of theirs a shot. So even though this might not be the actual one-to-one of a timeline, I tend to use these type of anime as basis for any research that I would do on my own. And I mean, I could see videos being made, follow up of like specific parts that are accurate and specific parts that are fictional. Either way, I am ready for this anime. I am locked in for it and hyped. For our last anime on this list, we have Chiki no Gokuri ni Suite. And yes, I said that extremely fast because I probably and definitely butchered how you're supposed to pronounce it, so I went quickly, okay? Give me a break here. It'll be coming out, you guessed it, in October. How surprising. We start in 15th century Poland when a certain religion has control over people's beliefs and way of thinking. It's very reminiscent of our own history books and how religion has played a part in the development of some of these countries. We start with a boy named Rafal, who is a child prodigy looking to study theology. Very fitting for the timeline and very fitting for the mentality and thought process of the people. But his life and things really take a turn when he meets this man named Hubert, who is known as a heretical scholar, a real term in our world too. Back then, it was Galileo and Copernicus. Those type of people would be considered heretical scholars because their own thinking and ways of study went against the way of the churches. This is a story about how people came to realize that we live in a heliocentric solar system, but that's all being stifled by an oppressive authority that's trying to create a narrative to control the masses with. Science has obviously been a fundamental factor in our own development as a society, as a people, from the very beginnings of our crawling out of caves. Now, this is an anime that combines both science and history, which is, again, another history style anime, I know. And it's all to tell about humanity's curiosity and resilience to find the truth. Without getting too much into spoilers, I want to say though that this seems to be a story that does play a lot on the concept of inherited will. As someone who is a One Piece fanatic, this is my, I mean, I said it before, I'll say it again, look at me. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked about that. I'm all about that type of theme in a background of a story like this. The studio that's making this is Madhouse, and I doubt you really need too much context on who they are, but in case you do, let me tell you that they've worked on series like Death Note, One Punch Man, the 2011 Hunter x Hunter remake, Trigun, the OG version, Black Lagoon, and a whole lot more. Their catalog, their portfolio is diverse and extensive. However, they are still recovering from the absolute dumpster fire that was the controversy and exposure of how they treat their employees and the way that their work environments are set up, which is awful. It was awful. So hopefully they've learned from their past mistakes here. The animation does look really good, and the voice acting is also very well done from what we see in the trailer. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. I'm just hoping, the people that animated it got a couple hours more rest than they used to get. So that's about it, gamers. Those are all the anime that I have for this list. To me, they were all unique in one way or another. They piqued my interest based on either their stories or the concept or themes that they really kind of brought onto the table. Again, there could be other ones that I'm missing, and there's still constant information that gets released about animes up until pretty much their actual release date. So if I missed any, or there are any that stand out to you, please let me know in the comments. Or if you have any opinions on the current anime that I picked for this list, let me know. Hit that like and subscribe button down below. I also stream on Twitch Wednesday through Saturday. You can find my schedule on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.